All right, let's talk IKEA. I mean, you've almost certainly furnished an apartment with their stuff. Or maybe you've just gone for the Swedish meatballs. We've all been there. It's that land of flat pack boxes, those infamous Allen keys, and of course the Billy bookcase. But, behind that whole maze-like showroom experience, there's a secret system. An 81-year-old playbook, really, that turned a tiny mail-order business into this global empire. So today, we're going to unbox the genius of IKEA. And where does it all begin? Well, it starts with this really simple, almost folksy mission from its founder, Ingvar Kamprad. His goal wasn't to build the world's biggest furniture company. Nope. It was to create a better everyday life for the many people. I mean, that's a pretty humble beginning for a story that is about to get absolutely massive. And when I say massive, I mean look at this number, 860 million. That's how many times people walk into an IKEA store every single year. To put that in perspective, that is more than double the entire population of the United States. It's just staggering, right? This makes it super clear. We're not just talking about a furniture store here. We're talking about a genuine global phenomenon. So that brings us to the big question, right? How on earth did one teenager's tiny little trading company, started way out in the rugged Swedish countryside, how did that become the undisputed king of home furnishings? Well, let's dig in and find out. Okay, so to really get IKEA, you first have to understand its founder, Ingvar Kamprad. And just as important, you have to understand where he came from, a place called Småland. It's this tough, rocky, super rural part of Sweden. And honestly, his blueprint, it became the company's DNA. I mean, just look at this timeline. It shows you just how early his whole obsession started. At 5 years old, 5, he was already figuring out profit margins on matchboxes. By 12, he's taking out a loan to import pens. And here's the absolute kicker. That $63 loan, that was the only external money the company ever raised. Think about that. Every single dollar of growth since then has been paid for by its own cash. And, this wasn't just some personal quirk of his. It was a deep cultural value. Kamprad grew up with this concept from his home region, Småland, called lista, and it basically means making do with the absolute minimum of resources. It's the art of extreme frugality. And that one idea, ruthlessly cutting out waste and cost, that would become IKEA's guiding star. It became their greatest weapon. So that frugal DNA, it was about to be put to the ultimate test. Because here's something you might not know. IKEA's most famous innovations, they weren't these brilliant ideas that came out of some fancy boardroom meeting. No way. They were actually desperate solutions to crises that literally threatened to destroy the entire company. And when you look at it, you can see this clear pattern start to emerge. So, first crisis, vicious price wars and really low consumer trust in mail-order furniture. The innovation? Kamprad opens the first IKEA showroom, basically daring people to come see the quality for themselves. And guess what? They did. Then a second crisis. A nationwide boycott organized by competitors literally cuts off all his suppliers. So what's the innovation? Well, he's forced to start designing his own furniture in-house, which led directly to their biggest breakthrough ever. Yeah, the invention of flat pack furniture. The story goes that an employee took the legs off a table just to fit it in a car. And that was the aha moment, the bolt of lightning. Suddenly, you could ship more, you could store more, you could sell more. By shifting that final step, the assembly, to us, the customer, IKEA radically slashed its costs across the board. Transport, labor, damage, it all went down. This was a total game changer for the entire furniture business. Okay, so with that revolutionary cost structure solved, IKEA needed a system, a formula, for creating products that people would actually want to buy and put together. And this led to their own unique design philosophy. You can think of it like the assembly instructions for creating globally successful products. They call it democratic design, and it's built on these 5 pillars: form, function, quality, sustainability, and of course, a low price. Now, every single IKEA product is this careful balancing act between all 5 of these things. It's not about making the best possible quality. It's about making the right quality for that low price. It has to look good, it has to work well, it has to be sustainable, and, this is the big one, it has to be unbelievably cheap. But it's how they weaponize that low price that's really amazing. Kamprad wrote about it in his company manifesto, this idea of creating breathtaking offers. He later called it the hot dog policy, which was inspired by Costco's cheap hot dogs. The whole idea is simple. Have a few products priced so impossibly, ridiculously low that they act like magnets, pulling people into the stores and proving just how committed IKEA is to value. And the perfect example of this? The lack table. You know the one. Now, here's what's so wild. This isn't a table they designed and then figured out a price for. Nope, they did it completely backwards. They started with that breathtaking price point, $9.99, and then they engineered the entire table and the manufacturing process just to hit that magic number. It's genius. All right, so we've got the frugal culture, the crisis-born innovations, and the brilliant product system. But Kamprad's final move, well, this was his most complex and maybe his most important. Building an unbreakable corporate fortress designed to protect IKEA forever. Okay, I know this looks really complex, so let's just break it down into a simple version. Think of IKEA as being split into two parts. On one side, you have the mental sphere. That's inter-IKEA systems. It owns all the secret sauce, the brand, the concept, the intellectual property. On the other side, you have the physical sphere. That's Inca Holding. They run almost all of the actual stores you visit. But here's the real genius move. They are both owned by two totally separate foundations. This structure basically locks the family out of direct control and creates this incredible financial fortress that is built to last for generations. And the result of this crazy structure, it's pretty profound. It basically means IKEA can't be bought. It has no shareholders breathing down its neck demanding quarterly profits. It's totally free to think in terms of generations, not just financial years. It can just relentlessly focus on that original mission for the many. So, what happens when you put all of these pieces together? You've got the founder's frugal DNA. You've got the innovations that were born from crisis. You have that democratic design system, and you have this unbreakable corporate fortress. You put all that together, you get a company that is, well, it's pretty much impossible to compete with. And they do it by serving a very specific customer, the many people. And just think about it for a second. The peak age for an IKEA customer is 24. That's not an accident. It is the go-to brand for when you move out of your parents' house, get your first apartment, and start a new chapter in your life. They completely own that rite of passage. But here's what's really surprising. Even though they are the biggest player by a country mile, IKEA only has about 5 to 7% of the entire global furniture market. So why is that? Well, it's because the market is just massively fragmented. You have thousands of small local players, but there is nobody else who operates on IKEA's global scale. And that fragmentation really highlights their ultimate competitive advantage, their massive scale. I mean, decades of growth have created this perfect virtuous cycle. The massive volume they do gets them lower costs from suppliers. Those lower costs lead to lower prices for us, the customers, which of course drives even more volume. It just feeds itself. There's no startup on earth that could replicate that kind of cost structure today. Which of course brings us right back to you, sitting on the floor, Allen key in hand, staring at one of those diagrams with the little cartoon man on it. So why? Why do we put ourselves through it? It's because that frustration, that self-assembly, that's the final piece of the genius puzzle. It's not a bug in their system, it's the core feature that makes the entire thing work. And that leaves us with one final big question. You know, the IKEA model was perfected for a physical world, a world of station wagons and weekend trips to a giant store. But today, in an age of e-commerce and instant next-day delivery, can that old playbook, the one built on customer labor and massive showrooms, can it really endure forever? That's the billion-dollar question that IKEA itself is trying to figure out right now.